from one single book that I was required for a class in college became $40,000 of credit card debt. Hey guys, welcome back. Today I will be talking about 3 things that I wish I can go back in time to tell myself what I needed to do to be wealthy. I am over 40 years old. I want to go over 3 items would have changed my life today. Because it didn't happen the way I wanted to, I am progressively and diligently working towards that goal right now. The first thing I wish I would have done in my earlier 20s was invest in the stock market, whether it was working for my employer's 401k at the time, or even investing in a Roth IRA earlier. That time from then to now would have been over 20 years. I wish I was able to compound all that in the last 20 years opposed to starting from maybe a couple years ago. The other one was real estate. Considering the prices that real estate is now, it's always hindsight that you wish you could have bought something earlier than later, or even at the current rate of what it is now. And I understand that a lot of us are, when we're in our 20s, we just started looking for a high-paying job or a job in general, having income and something stable. But of course, living your 20s meant going out with your friends, having a drink and eating out most of the time, because you're not settling down, you may not have a kid. For the most part, a higher percentage of people in their 20s do not have kids, or maybe towards their later years in their 20s. Not saying that not everyone do not have kids in their 20s, not saying that. The last item, my third thing, is I wish that I did not spend so much on things that was not a necessity. Of course, books, I took a lot of certification being a technical person. A lot of it was out of my own pocket because companies weren't reimbursing at that time when I was doing it. When Microsoft first had their certifications, my company was a small company that wasn't reimbursing anything like that. So everything came out of my own pocket. I did come up with a list during that time of the things that I probably spent money on and I wish I didn't as much. Of course, in the 20s, video game industry was popping, very popular. So obviously I spent a lot of money on games, spent a lot of money on car requirements like gas and putting things into the car, doing things to the car and car washes. And I tried to always not show off, but it's just things that kind of kept you happy at the moment. It's almost like buying a new car and you having that new car smell. When you open that package for the first time, you get that adrenaline rush, something new and you've never had before, and you're playing with it. But then of course, as the days go by, it just becomes another piece of item that sits on your table or your desk on the floor, and it doesn't get touched as much as it did when you first bought it. Those are the 3 things that I wish I would have done. But that's not to stop you from doing it now, right? You can say, I need money for this and that. I don't have money to put into the market. And you could have easily started with maybe as little as $50 or $100 out of your paycheck for the entire month to invest. And obviously you wouldn't be able to buy stocks like, Microsoft, Apple, or Amazon. But there are other stocks that you could look into that even pays dividends at such a, smaller amount, at $50 or even $100. And of course you would need to do your homework and diligence on what you can acquire. Or employed and you're working for your employee and they offer retirement incentives such as 401ks, I will contribute the max. I wish I did contribute the max if they match a certain amount, or at least put the amount that they are willing to match, whether it's 3% or 6%, that's free money. So definitely do that. Now, real estate, on the other hand, depending on your income, you should really consider what your purchasing power is, right? If you're making $50,000, you're not going to be able to buy a $500,000 home. If you're living in a place like I'm in New York, obviously $50,000 is not going to really get you much. And if it's even worth looking into buying a studio, and you can get that for $50,000 anywhere in New York as well. Look into out-of-state investments. I can see the price difference between where you may be living, where the real estate prices are a lot higher. I did my homework. I read a lot of books on real estate and investing out of state. And you could do that and potentially buy something, even with a lower down payment. Being an out-of-state investor, 20% down unless you're living there. And you could just buy these homes. They range from like $50,000 to $100,000 homes. It's a thought. right? It's an option. Obviously, I wasn't making as much as I was in the 20s as I am now. So, a lot of things came into play, right? You needed money to do certain things. You were surviving on your own, and you need money for food, and you need money. But there are times where you can probably just hold back on spending things that you probably didn't need, or a meal that costs $30 opposed to going to the grocery store and buying something that you could whip up for like half that price, or maybe even less. So that's my third thing, is not spend. I wish I didn't spend so much on junk, right? If I look at my house now and I look at the stuff that I haven't thrown out yet, and I'm wondering, and I wish that I just never acquired it in the first place. And then that's when you know that you spent money on things that you did not need, obviously. So I hope this helps anyone who's watching this understand that those were my 3 things I wish I can tell myself if I was to go back in time. If I caught myself, I would say either invest in your stocks, open an IRA, or contribute your max to your employer's 401. 2, real estate. If you couldn't acquire anything where you're living, such as myself in New York City, then start investigating, looking into out-of-state properties and rental income. And I wish that whatever I have now, if I did that 20 years ago, the prices of the houses and the rental, I would have been probably done with the mortgage if I had acquired it back then, 20 years ago. And of course the houses would have been a lot cheaper then, but also I had to take in consideration the income that I was making was also a lot less than what it is now. But then my point is that I never even knew or considered out-of-state investing for real estate when I was younger. If I had known that I could put a down payment of maybe like $2,000 and buy a $50,000 house back then, I would have. Okay, so I wish I could have done that. And third, obviously, a lot of people, I still do some of it today. I buy something because I think I need it, and then, a month or 2 down the road, it's sitting there and I'm wondering like, why did I buy it? So I want to help people who are in that situation and they're confused as to, I can't invest with this little money. There's no way I could buy a house with the income that I make for rental properties. I really need the latest iPhone. So if you're one of that people that are watching this, stick around with me, stay with me, because that's the situation that I was in as I was growing up. And I just want to put it out there that I was probably between $30,000 to $40,000 in credit card debt until one day I woke up and said, I'm going to clear this out. Every week, every 2 weeks when I was getting paid, I would say 80 to 90% of my paycheck went straight to the credit cards because I was never educated. I had to learn on my own that I do not want to live like this. I wish someone had taught me earlier. My goal now is to teach my kids not to be that way, not to be the way I was as I was growing up. Because I remember when I first started college, credit card companies were all lined up in front of the campus. I signed up and I was like, okay, have this credit card, I could buy books now. And that's pretty much how it all started. From one single book that I was required for a class in college became $40,000 of credit card debt. This was a heart-to-heart conversation that I'm having with you guys. I know I'm not a huge channel. Hopefully one day I will be, and I can still talk about my experiences. And everything I talk about on this channel is all about my experiences, my homework, my efforts. Thank you guys for joining me again. I really appreciate it if you comment and like and share. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Thank you. Bye.